Hello everyone, and welcome to my brand new series that is not about me. Hello everyone, and welcome to my Spotlight On series, where I shine my little spotlight on the stars of theatre and musicals and chat with them about their careers in this business we call show. If you haven't seen my face before, then hi, my name is Emily. I'm an actor-singer based in the UK, and I spend my time either performing in shows or talking about them. If you love all things theatre and musicals as much as I do, then click subscribe and join my stagey little online family. Also, while you're there, click the thumbs up if you'd like to see more videos like this one on my channel. And if you are really into this, then comment down below with your favourite Scott Allen song. So, welcome to my new series of videos where I will be chatting to the stars and creators of West End and Broadway theatre, the award winners and the fan favourites. Today I am lucky enough to be joined by the incredible, internationally acclaimed songwriter Scott Allen. Scott Allen has written songs that have been performed by some of the theatre world's biggest stars, including Sutton Foster, Leah Salonga, Pentatonix, Patina Miller, Samantha Barks, Jeremy Jordan and Tracy Toms, to name but a few. Mr. Allen released his debut album Dreaming Wide Awake in 2007 and has gone on to release more follow-up albums, including Keys, What I Want to Be When I Grow Up, Live, Anything Worth Holding On To, Cynthia Erivo and Oliver Tomsett Sing Scott Allen, and Lifeline. Scott Allen has travelled the world on tour with sold-out concerts in New York City, Japan, London, Holland, Germany, San Francisco, Boston, LA and Australia. He often performs here in the UK at London's Live at Zadell, and he was due to perform here this year alongside the West End and UK's finest, but because of the pandemic this could no longer go ahead. But no fear, he will be returning to our icy shores in October 2021, all being well. Mr. Allen's work has featured on TV shows, with his composition It's Good to See You Again becoming the #1 downloaded song on iTunes and Amazon from that episode of So You Think You Can Dance. And his stunning composition, Anything Worth Holding On To, was featured on American Idol. Okay, so that's just a little bit of background on Scott Allen's career so far. I haven't given too much away because he speaks so beautifully himself during our little chat that I thought it would be much better for you to hear it all from the man himself. That's right. We have finally got to the part of the video that you came here for. Here is what happened when I caught up with Scott Allen. Really appreciate you coming on here. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, of course. Thanks for inviting me.
So obviously you are incredibly successful in what you do. You've got a whole bunch of amazing albums out, but what is it that got you into music in the first place? How did it all begin?
It's so funny that you actually asked this question, because I've been working with one of my students on Where Is Love from the musical Oliver.
Oh, yeah.
And Oliver was actually the beginning of the end for me. It's my grandfather played me the cast recording of the original Broadway cast of Oliver, and I fell in love so deeply with it instantly. And you know, within moments, and I was very young at the time, I think I was 3 or 4, and as the story goes, I was able to recite most of the lyrics and the melody back pretty quickly.
Wow.
And it really transformed from there. My love for musical theater started to just really build, and it wasn't until later that I started to become just as interested in pop music, but I really loved the theater. I mean, I went from Oliver, I think, straight into Les Mis. Nothing like going from, a peasant homeless child to prostitution, but, as a 3-4-year-old. But, I started to just really love the art form of music. And I think just like most people, I'm sure you're the exact same way, Emily. We use our music as therapy. And so I was a pretty lonesome little child, and I didn't grow a lot of friendships easily. I was very awkward, and definitely dealing with my sexuality throughout my childhood. And music was just my isolation tool. I mean, I would put on, either Les Mis or Little Shop of Horrors to Mariah Carey and just belt my way through the world. And for me, that's exactly where my love for music began. And I definitely credit my Papa Louie with sort of introducing that world to me, because again, he introduced Oliver and Les Mis, and it only grew from there.
So when did you actually go from listening and appreciating to writing?
When I was 18 years old, my mom and my dad went through a divorce. I had piano lessons when I was really young with a woman named Nancy Blau. Me and my sister both. I think I took maybe 3 or 4 lessons. I would often, we had a baby grand in our house, so I would often play around with it, but I never really played it. And when I was 18, I was going to a college in Boston, Massachusetts, in the States, called Emerson College. And there was a little theater called the Fireplace Theater that had a little piano. And I remember I went there. Now, I remember first my friend Vanessa tried to get me to learn how to paint, to try to deal with my my sort of lack of understanding of the divorce. So I was sitting at the easel if I was not a very good artist. And then I sat down at the piano and started writing Kiss the Air. That was the first time that I ever wrote a song. And so I sat down and I wrote that song from the point of view of my father, as if he was telling my mother the things that he wished to allow her to fly away with as the divorce proceeded. And I didn't know if what I had written was anything good. And I played it for a friend of mine, Rob Seigan, and he loved it. And because someone gave me confidence, and then he was like, I want to sing it. And we would literally sing it for people, and people were like, oh, I love that song. That's beautiful. And so I was like, I'm a songwriter. And then I just started writing. I mean, I would write, you know, nonstop. I think my next song after that was a song called The Devil's in Your Home. Not a good song. And then I wrote Neverland pretty early on. Probably around when I was 18 as well. Everyone hated that song, funny enough, until Stephanie sang it for the first time. People were like, oh, that's a horrible song. Never played that again. And, you know, I just kept on writing. And I learned that I wasn't as great as most musical theater songwriters who are really good at moving plot forward, but I was very good at emotionally connecting to things that I hadn't dealt with, and being able to bring that forth in my music, and use my music and my lyrics as a way to sort of just deal with issues that I had been dealing with, whether it be when I came out to my mom and, you know, her reaction, Blessing, or Neverland, dealing with the isolation of not feeling needed or wanted in the world any longer. I'm a Star. I mean, just things of that nature in which I just sort of needed a landscape to write forth. Sorry, my dogs are, I don't know if you could hear them barking.
Yeah.
Their heads off upstairs right now. Yeah.
Oh, that's okay. I was going to say to you, actually, how important do you think having lived something is to be able to write? Like, do you think that emotion, like real, genuine emotion, is the key to writing something other people can connect with?
Well, I would ask you as a singer, how do you feel singing songs that you don't feel connected to, opposed to the songs that you do feel connected to?
Well, usually the ones I feel connected to, I definitely have to sing a few times before they get the better of me emotionally. And that's usually, right. I have to get to a point where I can sing it without breaking down. And then I know that I found a song. So yeah, I guess.
There's nothing, and you know, the beauty of singing while breaking down, there's nothing wrong with it. I think that's an incredible art form, because you learn how to sing the song without worrying about the vocal. You worry about the emotion. You know, you look at the incredible Judi Dench singing "Send in the Clowns."
Yes.
Rich, I'm Still Here. Those are incredible representations of how to actually sing a song, because it's not about our vibrato and our open vowels. We use those in our open vowels in terms of making sure that we solidify a healthy voice. And our vibrato most of the time is really enhanced to make sure we stand right on pitch. But for the most part, being able to understand what our lyric is essential. So it goes the same with the songwriter. I only know a song is good if I'm crying while writing it. Yeah. And that goes for the happy songs as well, because I always try to throw a little, you know, fragrance in there of myself beyond the joy, because life isn't really made up of just that, and how quickly the song was written. So, but for a songwriter, it's no different than you as a singer, because you have to tackle that. You have to be able to invest in that. And if you're looking at a song and you can't find your way through it, then it's about asking someone to go deeper with you and find what the landscape of that song might actually mean. Because we can look at a song like Good Morning Baltimore from Hairspray, and on the outside it looks like one thing, but beyond that, if we look at the lyrics, it might be completely something different than what was written, in order for you to sort of tackle exactly what it needs to. I believe in the Meryl Streep way of performing, which is, there's always a part of Meryl Streep in Meryl Streep's performances, as she always says. So there's always going to be a part of Emily in Emily performing, because if there isn't, then you lose everything. Right? You have to have knowledge of where you've been in order to go there.
That's incredible advice. Absolutely. Your songs have been performed by Grammy and Tony Award winning artists, the elite of musical theatre and music. How did that come about, you going from writing something to get your own feelings out personally to such a big platform?
I have no clue. It's so funny, because there's a big difference between the American audience and the British audience.
Yeah.
And in America, it's sometimes really hard to tackle some of these performers and get them. The new performers have no clue who I am. They and I mean that. I mean, most of them have no idea. I'm good with the legendary performers, the Liz Callaways and the Christiane Knowles and the Donna Murphys, but and the Lea Salongas, but like the younger generation, they don't look at music the same way that we do, as opposed to the British audience, who want so badly, which is so weird. They're on the West End and all they want is to be on Broadway, and they understand, they know the knowledge, they have the history down. And so to work with them has been much easier for me in my work. So when I go out to London, I sort of am very fortunate to have the who's who. And they often will come to me and write to me and ask to be to participate. But it's different in America. I really don't ever get that. And that's, I don't think most people would ever be honest and open enough with their ego to say that. But I don't really have an ego. So for me, it's just the reality of it. So the who's who, when in America, I have to write nonstop. I mean, Lea Salonga, when I worked with her, I was a huge fan growing up. She had a debut album that I would listen to my whole childhood. And I wrote her like 24 emails begging. And then I finally, I was doing my live album and I really wanted her for it. And she had worked with some of the performers like Ramin during Les Mis, and I thought, okay, at least there's a connection there. And I had Liz Callaway reach out to her. Like, I had them write like letters of recommendation, and still nothing. And so I wrote her a final letter, and it was like, I'm so sorry that I'm bothering you. I will never do this again. This will be my last letter to you, and I promise. And I was so surprised that her agent reached out to me the next day and said, all right, Leia, I'll join you guys for the concert.
Wow. And
now we're friends. I mean, now we text message, and it's, I still, every time she texts me, I'm like, it's Leia. my heart gets a little, I get goose pimples. I really do. I think the one thing that you can't ever stop doing is being a fan. Mm-hmm. I think the moment that you start putting up those walls and thinking that you're associated in the way that you are, you lose everything. So I'll always be a new voice. I will always feel as if I'm still starting out, because I still am. I don't know when my next song will be, So in those terms, I'm very fortunate. I've been very lucky. And with the debut album, with Dreaming Wide Awake, I really lucked out, because those people were unknowns at the time. Cheyenne Jackson, Jonathan Groff, Stephanie J. Block, Shoshana, they weren't stars yet. So when we put out that album, no one had been, I'm trying to think of anyone, well, Liz Callaway, obviously, but we knew that she was the legend at the end of that album. Adrienne Lennox had won a Tony, but she was filling in for another performer on that album. And So none of them, yeah, Josh Strickland, none of them, Eden Espinosa, she had just started the tour of Wicked. No one was like a household name yet. I mean, most of them didn't even have websites yet. I mean, we weren't even, you know, so then that album came out and instantly all of them started gaining their fame. Stephanie, you know, with Boy From Oz, and Shoshana went on to Wicked, and because she had still not done Wicked yet. And so it really started really building upon that. And the success of that album was mainly because people were discovering them as much as they were discovering me. And so when people were looking for, oh, Eden Espinosa singing, it was maybe one of the only things. iTunes had just begun. I mean, I think iTunes, history-wise, you would have to look it up, began in like 2005, and that album came out in 2007. So we were just beginning. You know, that album I remember getting it on iTunes. It took like 6 months to finally get it on. I mean, it was ridiculous. It was crazy. I know I talk a lot, by the way, Emily.
Well, no, that's great for me. Do you have a song or album that has a really sort of personal meaning or deeper significance to you, like your baby?
Well, I mean, Anything Worth Holding On To has become the sort of baby of my work, I guess. That's a song that I resonate with myself. Funny enough, as I said, all my songs happen really quickly. That song took no time to write except for the last line. It took a really long time for me to write, but I will still be here, whatever. I will still be holding on to anything worth holding on to. I had a really hard time finding the positive to end that song. And I had to sort of walk away in order to write that. But yeah, I would say that song has become the song that most people reach out to me about now. I mean, when you go on Instagram or Twitter and you get tagged, I would say 99% of the time, that's the song that people are singing. What about you in terms of what song do you usually go to that you feel is your sort of baby? Not of my work, of anything.
Okay, I think recently, because I got to see it on the West End and cried all the way through hearing it, and then tried to record it about 100 times before I could get through it without crying, I think is So Big, So Small from Dear Evan Hansen. Because I am a mum and I have a son, and so immediately.
How old is your son?
6.
Oh, you'll have to give me tips on how to get through these next 6 years.
You'll be fine. From what I'm seeing, you're a natural.
It's taken a lot of. I'm exhausted, Emily. Yeah. I'm very, very tired. It's exhausting. Just so you know, you don't have to release the song not crying, Emily. You can be honest. I think too many people are trying to be polished. We see these Instagram posts that everyone is filtering themselves. Don't be like everyone else. Be you. So if you're sitting down and you're crying through the song, post that, because you'd be surprised how many people want to respond to what they're feeling. And if you're getting to a point where you're sort of putting your wall up so you can get through it, you're letting go of the landscape of what Pasek and Paul wrote for you, right? They gave you this incredible opportunity and a platform to use your emotional balance to tell your story, not the story of what was sung in the show and the character and the actress whose history they're using, right? Yeah. We're looking at your story. So we want to know more about you. Don't feel as if you have to keep on filtering yourself because of the rest of the world does. I bet you'll have a better outcome if you do something honest and you show yourself. Okay.
I'll try and be brave.
Don't try, just do.
Which actually leads me on to my next question really well, because you also coach people in singing and songwriting. How important is it to you to share your experience and your knowledge with other people?
Oh, I love it. It's one of my favorite things that I do. As you know, when you're a parent, anytime you get to sort of walk away from your child for a moment has been very nice. And I love my daughter, but I'm with her from 7 o'clock in the morning until 5 straight through. So my husband comes home and he takes over for those 2 hours before bedtime. For me, It's cathartic for me too. I learn just as much as I think my students learn. I'm a really big believer in reduction of stress in order to perform. I'm very big believer in relaxation, meditation, breathing, which goes hand in hand with just learning the breath control, the diaphragm, just because it's a meditative tool, beyond how much air we can actually use and the things that we can do with our actual vocal. So half of my my vocal lessons for the first 30 minutes are based on relaxation and meditation. I pick a word every week and we sort of meditate on that word. And then the second half is really either exploring the lyrical content of the song or understanding how to be healthy on our vocal cords and be honest, where we place, a lot of singers want to go instantly into their vibratos because it's easier. So we really have to figure out exactly where we straight tone and where we want to place our actual vocal itself. I just find that too many vocal teachers that I watch are so concentrated only on the vocal and they forget about everything else, and it infuriates me because that's only half of the battle. I think it's actually a small, once you can learn how to be healthy on your vocal cords, I don't care what you really do with your vocal. I care what you do with your heart when singing. So for me, tapping into that with my students has been incredible. And, I've had students that have been with me since I started my vocal studio, and being able to expand my time lately, which has been really nice, and open up. My husband gave me all of Saturday now. So I have, 15 students just on a Saturday, and from Monday to Friday from 5 to 9 every night I have students. So it's incredible, both with that and with doing songwriting. Now songwriting is different because there's ego that comes involved, and so I always tell my students, let go of ego, because we become so we're so stuck on what we've written that it's very hard to change, and so there's got to be a collaborative process, and that's so important for musical theater anyway. And it's something that I had to learn. I mean, I had an ego until probably the third album. I was so egotistically in my head, and you have to let go in that in order to hear constructive criticism. So that's the songwriting is often the tougher part of it, and the vocal lessons are sort of my babies now. I love my students. I get a kick out of them. We work really hard together and we have fun. I know their lives. It's like therapy sessions. There's a lot of crying, So, but it's great. I love it.
So your music, you can buy the sheet music to your song, so people can actually go away and do their own thing with it to a large extent. How have you ever been surprised, either good or bad, at any interpretations of songs you've done? Has anything made you go, oh, I love that, or what did you do to my song?
It's so fun. I don't know if they're big in England. There's Chloe and Haley. Do you know who they are?
I do, yeah.
Haley is actually, she's going to be playing Ariel in the Little Mermaid movie. They did an interpretation of Home a few years ago. Now they're stars, so I still post it because they're stars and I want to use them to make myself feel important. But I don't know what song they were singing. I don't think it was Home. The melody doesn't sound anything like Home, but it is Home. I mean, I could hear the chords. It's Home, and I know the lyrics are Home, but it's not Home. But it's their own version of it. And listen, they're Beyonce's baby. So if one day Beyonce heard that, because then I feel like me and Beyonce are friends, and that's important to me, because who doesn't want to be friends with Beyonce, even if they're not friends with Beyonce? And I think she'd love that electric pink guitar. And so, yes, there are definitely times I've heard interpretations. I get frustrated. I actually will write to people sometimes, tell them to stop singing. Not stop singing. I mean, stop singing, like stop singing. Like people will sing now and they'll be like, hey, I got your message. I just stopped by the apartment. I'm like, what the freak are you doing? Stop. That's not the song. That is not the song. The song has not, it is a phone conversation. It's simplistic and honest and raw. Stop trying to showcase yourself at all labors, because once you do that, you've lost yourself. And I think, again, that's where the polished nature comes in. Most people want to just sound good. That's then go sing a Josh Groban song, you know, You Lift Me Up, and go for it. Go for those David Foster high notes, but don't really tap into emotion. You know, Ben Platt's really good at that. Obviously, you're a big fan of Dear Evan Hansen, but he's really good at cutting out his word. Have you ever da 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 da, right? And he cuts those words off really quickly, and he doesn't have to sustain. He'll show off later.
Yeah.
Right? He'll build later. Or when you watch Shoshana sing She Used to Be Mine, and there's that great video of her that she did with Broadway.com, and it's all just spoken until later. I'll give it to you. I'll give you my passion and my rawness. I'll go for it. But at the beginning, I'm just going to tell my story.
See, I agree with you on this. I think that the future of musical theatre is something a little bit more real and a little bit more felt than performed. And would you say it's fair to say that that is your style as well, something based a bit more in reality?
It has to be, you know, it has to be. You'd be surprised. So most of the time I come to London, I'll literally land at like 7 a.m. and I'll have a full day of something, interviews or whatever. And then I do a very quick sound check before a concert. So I don't have a lot of time to work with my performers who are A-class performers, but still most of the times they will be over singing. And there will be moments I will have to say, stop riffing, stop. And that's so hard for them because they only have like an hour until performance time. And they're like, how do I recalibrate this entire idea of the song? But you know, I've learned now, I think the longer I've been in this career, the more I've gotten the opportunity to voice myself. At the very beginning, I never voiced myself. I was like, whatever you want to do, that's fine. But, you know, I've gotten to a point now where I can tell people, and it sometimes psychs them out, which I try not to do, especially, you know, because they're like, big, they've done their stuff, they've worked. But if I had my way and I had more time, most of the time I would sit down with them and literally do what I do in the studio now, which is let's look at our lyrics, let's find our punch words. I mean, if you listen to I'm a Star with Eden, that was one of the last tracks recorded for Dreaming Wide Awake, and at that time I started feeling more confident in the studio, and I was able to sort of sit down with Eden and go, okay, let's find our punch words. What are our main words in each sentence? And you could hear it, you know, someone give me a chance and just watch me break through. So there are those punch words that are so essential as well. And that's one of the reasons I love that recording, because it really soars for me. You know, not just because she has, sorry, I'm shutting off my phone, not just because she has such an incredible voice that's filled with so much emotion, but because she really nails the words itself.
When are you next in London, as far as you can say at this point? Obviously, things are really up in the air. We know this, but.
Yeah, thankfully we've pushed back. So I will be there in October. I'll be doing, I had some sold out concerts at Zadell, and we had to push them all back. They were supposed to be done, and they were in March, then October again, then they were for March again, and we finally moved it back to October. So I'll be doing all of those concerts with the original cast, which is good. I think there's 6 of them. 6 concerts, and then I think we're adding maybe a few more, maybe 4 more for people that weren't able to get tickets. And so I'll be out there, and then Germany's doing The Distance You Have Come out there in German. So I'll be out in Germany then. So that'll be fun. I'm ready to get, I hate flying, and yet I can't wait to get on an airplane.
Well, thank you so much for talking to me today. I'm looking forward to having you here next year, and I'm definitely going to try and I couldn't get tickets, but I'm definitely going to try if you've got extra dates added, so that's very exciting.
Thanks, Emily. Well, listen, keep pushing forth with your work as well. Don't let yourself get in your own head, okay? Make sure that you really follow through and trust your passion and trust what you have to offer and say. Try not to be anyone else but you. You know, we often try to emulate the people that we love, and yet that's their story. Yeah. And make sure you use your own, because I'm sure you have a beautiful, glorious history of life that's both painful and joyous. And go up into that attic of yours and open up that little treasure trove of your life and all the clothes that you've worn throughout it, and put them on and sing.
I really hope that you enjoyed me shining my little spotlight on Scott Allen today. If you did, then please give this video a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more videos like this one on my channel, then hit subscribe, because I have so many more ready and waiting coming so soon on my channel. More incredible stars of the stage, award winners, directors and writers. You will not want to miss it. Take care, everyone. Bye. Hi, thank you so much for getting to this part of the video. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to watch. I'd love it if you could click subscribe so we can stay in touch, and a little like would be nice as well. So why don't you leave a comment, just say hi, or let me know any songs you like or anything you'd like to see me cover on this channel, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!